All right, we're back again. I'm Joe Cortese, your host for Trackside Northeast. Man, do we have a lot to talk about this week, from the local level all the way up to the Cup Series. Kansas, what a finish it was. And I am joined this week by Joe Lembo. I've been trying to get you on the show for a while. Mike Montecalvo brought you up the first time, and we got to talk just racing in general. But Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, God, this is great to be here. It's a great concept of a show. Joe, you guys are doing fabulous.
Oh, we're having a blast with it. So, Joe, tell me a little bit about your racing, where your family's into this. I mean, there's a whole lot of it, but where do we start from?
Well, I feel like I have two alliterations. When I was a kid, my uncle took me to Seekonk Speedway because no one else in my family was really interested in it. And we just started going there, Thompson, Westboro, Stafford. And I went through my whole youth just following people like your grandfather, which I have tons of Georgie Summers stuff. And then, you kind of lose it. My uncle got very old. Life happens and things change. But then my son is born. And I said, I want to do a racing theme in his bedroom. And you go to Home Depot and they had Tony Stewart wallpaper and Jeff Gordon wallpaper. So I go with the Jeff Gordon. And ever since my son could talk, he just talked 24. And he just became, the racing was in him. And fast forward, he said, I want to race cars. I want to be a NASCAR race car driver, and I'm going to buy Mommy a mansion. Went, okay, all right. So fast forward, we started Seekonk in the Mini Cup, which is now the Bandoleros, and then we moved up to the Legends, and that got us to travel. And then, the money starts to really, go. And I said, Joey, and we had a group of dads, too. And that's a good thing about racing. You meet people or you already know people. And we had 2 or 3 other dads. I don't know much about the vehicles, but I could do the sponsorship, the money, and all that. But they knew about the vehicles. So we had some dads, and we traveled, and we had a hauler. We could put 4 Legends in one of the haulers that we have and, go down to Riverhead in Long Island, go to New Jersey for the Turkey Derby, go up to New Hampshire, which we'll talk about in a minute, and race there with the Legends. But then he's in college, and it wasn't going to work out, and everyone kind of got out of it. And that's how the racing is in our blood. And my son insisted on he's going to work in NASCAR someday. And you know where he is now. Mm-hmm. He is the event and production manager, operations manager, I should say, number 3 guy at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
It's awesome how it, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Even if you take that break, it's always in there. Mm-hmm. And there he is up there. Is that that's up in New Hampshire, right? That's
New Hampshire. That's my son. I go to the races now to watch him work. There's one of the many Legends. There's the original one that we went to Long Island to buy that vehicle. It was a race winner and a championship car. We bought it, and we tried to travel to all these different tracks that you're seeing here. Local racing in New England, I don't think people take it as serious.
I know.
As they should, because you have your little tracks and people run to Seekonk or they run up to Lee in New Hampshire. But if you really travel around, we have so many options for the race fan to see different categories, different levels. And it's exciting. And when we're down south, we say that to people too. Yeah, we're from New England, but hey guys, we produced Logano, Ryan Preece, go back to Jeff Bodine, Ronnie Bouchard. The New England drivers have made a statement. It's not just that southeast or the far west.
Now we just got to go with. I have this crazy idea of, I'm like, there's enough space out in Western Mass, because New Hampshire's a great thing, but I'm like, why don't we just go buy a couple acres in Western Mass and put another speedway out there and get another New England race? That would be great.
Oh, I mean, that would be perfect if we can get that Connecticut, Western Mass, near New York, because, after the Glen, there isn't much else that we do here in New England. And then with New Hampshire, thank God, to the Bruton Smith and that family, really making that track what it is today. And people even have thanked me, have thanked my son, for the evolution at that track for racing and for the fan experience.
It's come a long way. It really has. I mean, we've had so many different guests in here, and we talk about different speedways, short tracks around. But New Hampshire, like it's just a different style of racing. Because people affiliate racing with the super speedways and the Talladegas and Daytonas. But when you get to that short track racing, it's exciting. It's fun to watch, especially when you get a chance to see like the modifieds go up there, and it's loud and it's packed and it's just a good time. But did you get a chance to go to New Hampshire this year?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I watched every single race, watched my son work, and then I go to the races. But you're right, that modified, watching them on the mile track, after you see them at Stafford, in the half mile, and, Stafford Springs has really become a developmental track, for a lot of drivers in the system. And then you have your quarter mile at Seekonk. But then when you see the modifieds there and what they can produce, what a race it was. And I don't know if you knew, but the old number 3, the old blue, won the race with the new driver for the first time. That number 3 goes way back to the Fred Darling days that you'll hear about. Boy, what a race that was.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable. We had Kyle Suzanne last week. He was talking all about it. He said he'd never seen that many people pack in New Hampshire for a modified race. He said it was very impressive. And then we had the interview with Joey Logano. Logano said the same thing. He was out there with his son, and he was like surprised at the amount of people that were there.
That Saturday turnout, again, the weather had a lot to do with it. Yes. It was finally, a fall race, if you will. It wasn't in the deep of July heat or whatever. The camping, as you know, got sold out. So think about that, 3,500 camping spots.
That's a lot of folks.
Filled since Monday. Oh, yeah, no, since Monday. Joey, my son was telling me that campers were pulling up the Saturday and Sunday before. And he can't let them in, and they got to go park somewhere else, and then they were all moving in. So you can see the engagement of the fan experience with NASCAR and racing here in New England. They're saying it's not showing in the ratings anymore for TV, but it's like what we're all experiencing. It's fragmented. People are still engaged. They're just all over the place in different devices watching it or being a part of it all.
Oh, absolutely. And, social media, I've noticed to NASCAR specifically, and even in the short tracks and the lower divisions going through, Seaconk's doing a great job. The social media is really starting to expand that, which is great because we're finally getting, social media has been around, but we're getting to that day and age now where it's like, that is where a lot of people get their updates, their news, their highlights, whether it's sports, news, or anything else in between. That's how they find it. And they're in short little clips, and you can get inside the helmet and kind of, because that's the one thing that NASCAR gives outside of any other sport. You get the access in the and you can walk through, and all of a sudden, I walked through Daytona one time, and I'm sitting there, and I had this guy like kind of hit me, and I'm like, what's going on here? I look over, Jeff Gordon's walking right by me. I'm like, oh my God. And, he's not the tallest guy, so I missed him for a second. But that was the year Ray Lewis came in and did the flag. That was years ago. It was around Sandy Hook because they brought in all the people from Sandy Hook, and they had I forget exactly what year it was, but you get that access that you don't get in any other sport.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, to watch all those people in New Hampshire being involved in the garage area or in the fan, the fan zone during the pit area that, you can bump elbows with, like I bumped into Alex Bowman and at one point I remember my son who you saw, he had to grab Joey Logano by the arm because Joey was going the wrong way, and we're all like in this bunch, all around, and he's like pulling them, and there were just fans standing there and just, soaking it in. And then you go to the smaller tracks as well too, and they're doing the on-track experiences now. They engaging the drivers with the fans so that it is like any other sport. The fan is owning their their favorite driver.
Exactly. So let's get over. Well, I have one quick question. Who's your favorite driver right now? Who was it before? Because we all go through our generations, changed up. Like I originally was a senior fan, became a junior fan, and then Ross Chastain came in. And I took a while off after junior. I was like, all right, I don't know if I can pick a favorite yet, but Ross is my guy right now. He's 13 behind Logano in the playoff standings. We won't talk about that yet, but who do you got for a favorite driver?
Well, I mean, I grew up as a Hendricks guy, obviously, through just with the 24. If Jeff Gordon's listening to this right now, there is a shrine in Johnston, Rhode Island, at the home of anything Jeff Gordon is still in the home. My son is 28 years old, but he still has to have all his Jeff Gordon stuff everywhere. So we were a Hendricks household. Obviously, when Junior joined, that just solidified it more. So I root for Hendricks, but I also root for that underdog. Watching Josh Berry race now, watching even, SVG, coming into his own as an oval driver. I just love the sport. There are those who I don't root for because
we've all got our villains.
Yeah. So I won't go there with that. But it is where who do you really just enjoy watching? And obviously, we were blessed with the finish wanted this past Sunday.
Oh my God, I know. Yeah, let's go right over to Kansas. I wasn't even paying attention to Elliott. He was around, but eighth. You're looking at the guys, especially in the restarts, and that track's moving, but that was the wildest finish I'd seen in the playoffs yet.
Yeah, and again, it shows you Kansas is a very difficult track, and there are other tracks like that. But Hamlin was fighting steering issues, and I think that's what happened. He probably gave it more than he should have, and he just drifted up the track and literally, moved the 23 out of the way and opened up the door. So, and again, Chase did have new tires.
Yep.
So he had a little advantage there.
But he just came in. He got right down on the low side and just took off. The momentum just went. It almost looked like everyone was stuck in third gear, and he was in fourth. He just flew out.
Yeah, and he cleared. You're right. He cleared them so fast.
Yeah.
Once he got by there, here I am thinking, Lawson was going to do something crazy like that. Or then you even had Christopher Bell, the 20 was trying to, get back in the pack there. And I'm like, so where's everyone else? And then it's just the three of them, finishing it off.
Just rolling through. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. I want to get your thoughts real quick on the playoff format, because that's been a hot topic of discussion. We're coming down to it, and we'll have to decide whether or not. We'll hear some of the fans too, what they were talking about at Kansas over the weekend, of how they look at the playoff format and what changes they may want to make. But we'll be back in less than 2 minutes with much more from myself and Joe Lembo.
Good.
I like it as it is, but if they change it, they change it.
Oh, it's competitive. You have to be consistent. You look at Chase Elliott, he has to be consistent to stay in because he hasn't really won anything.
Like 4 races there at the last with like 4 or 6 drivers, so I might be okay with that.
I'd like to go just points as you qualify all throughout the year, and where you end up is where you end up. And you don't have this chasing, following, trying to stay in, and I'm going to wreck you to do this or anything like that. 38 drivers, 38 points, 1 to 38, and that's how you finish.
That's it right there. There's a lot of folks from the weekend. You have a different. It's funny because the more people I ask this question on whether or not they like this new playoff format, you find a big difference in it. There are a lot of people who love it, and then there's a lot of the older, they are not even older, but the other people who just I don't like the fact that it comes down to one single race. You look at every other major sport outside of the NFL and college, or college football specifically. They all have series. It's a series. Even the playoffs, the Yankees, Red Sox coming up this week, it's a series. And I just find it hard. And granted, we do have 10 races in the playoffs, but I don't like how it comes down to the one at the end. What's your thoughts on the playoff format? Changes or anything you like about it?
Yeah, when it started, I didn't like it. I've kind of, acquired a taste for it now because I'm, watching the full round of, from 16 to 12 to 8. But to something we had talked about before, that final race of one, 4 drivers fighting, and you still got 34 other guys that are trying to get a trophy, win a race, I don't know if I like that. I know, NASCAR's had, a big challenge with how do I make the sport appeal to more and more people. How do I engage them throughout the whole season? NFL seems to have such a pattern of, starting it off and ending it big, however, and we kind of start it big, with Daytona and all the new stuff. And then, how do you end it big? So I'm not as big of a fan of that, but I don't dislike it.
I think that, and I think that they can make some changes. It took me a while, too, with the stages. When they first brought in the stages, I was a little skeptical of it. I'm like, what's this? But then I realized that it makes it more interesting where it's like you get your win. You get 3 stages of race, so it's like you win stage 1, even if you get wrecked, something like that, you've got points already. It's going through. So it does, I think that helps the system. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, the one race at the end is what gets me because we were talking about it before. It's like, who's to say when it comes down to the Final Four and, you got a couple teammates who are not in it, but they're going to help you out. They're going to block out the Toyotas or they're going to move it. This is where it's just because then you're putting guys who are not in the playoffs directly involved. And it's just, I don't like how it's that one race. Now, if we can mix it up and put maybe 2 or 3 in the Final Four, that I would like to see because I'm going to be interested to see what happens when we get to the round of 4. And if somebody gets, and somebody will, because somebody will wreck. And it's like they worked all their season to get to that one final race with the 4, and they get wrecked running 32nd or 28th when everyone else is behind them, and they're technically winning. That's what's going to come down to. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned something too, Toyota, Ford. The manufacturers, have a lot of skin in the game.
Yeah, they do.
So
I'm sure Toyota wasn't too happy
about right. Think of that this past week. So what happens now? Is it going to be all Toyotas? For the top 4? Is it going to be, will it be diverse with a Ford, a Chevy, and a Toyota and one other one in there? That's what would make it really exciting to watch. But you're right, there's those unintended consequences, I call it,
That's a good way.
That, where's it going to come from? Like, what's going to go wrong during that race? And it affects strategy, too. I like the stages, as you brought up, because strategy, mental thought process really makes this the sport where someone we know doesn't think it's a sport, if I can just throw that out there. Andy Gresh used to come to me and would not cover it on the radio.
Oh, God.
It is not a sport. Stick and ball is a sport.
We're going to get Andy in here.
Yeah, okay.
Andy
right.
at WEI Sports Radio. We were just talking about this. So I know, Gretchen, that's going to be a good little debate. We'll have that.
Yeah, so making left-hand turns, he said, is not a sport, but it is. The strategy and the technology that goes into this now, and then the driver has to then do something with it all.
And meanwhile, this driver also has to make a decision. I would love to put Andy Gresh in a car and be like, sit in that 200-degree car with the suit on, driving around for hours. Let me know how many I would give him.
There's an
30.
athlete. That's an athlete. Right.
And it's the G-forces, too. I mean, they all go through training, reaction time. You see it. I mean, one thing that really got brought up was when the F1 series came out on Netflix over there. They started showing, like, the different training exercise they do for reaction. Now, F1's a lot different, quicker reactions, things like this, but NASCAR does similar training. I mean, we brought in Tyler Tomasi as well as Gio Ruggiero. And Gio was telling me about when they're over at the Toyota development, what they do. They work out. It's like, you don't just work out. They work out so they can last in the car, because how many times do those cooling suits pass? And then it's like these guys are pushing. And Hamlin, too. Got to give him some credit. He was still in the front with those issues. So you're not telling me his arms are hurting after trying to hold on without power steering? Like, there's so many elements, and it's a team sport because the drivers have to compartmentalize. It's like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to win this race. But at the end of the day, your pit crew could lose it or win it for you. And you have to work with them, but also accept it. And, you got the crew chiefs, you got the spotters. There's so many elements that go in. And with all the things that NASCAR has come with technology, it's kind of opened up the playing field to bring in more people, different engineers, I mean, we've always had the aerodynamics and the handling and everything, but it's crazy to think that it's like, it's not just, I mean, we all see the driver, but, it's about a team of 20, I would say, probably around there that all put in to win this race.
It's funny you say that, because I asked when I was in New Hampshire last week, I don't know. I think I was around JGR's hauler, and I saw all these people walking around with JGR shirts. And I turned to someone and I go, I wonder how many people really are on the team.
Yeah, like on the car specifically.
On the car that travel, have to be there. It's not just those 20 guys, at the pit box or whatever. There were all these other people with the shirts, and they were running in and out of the hall. I go, that's a business.
Yeah, it is, and it comes down to it. I mean, it could come down to one tire changer, it could come down to the jack man, anyone, or even the fuel guy when they're trying to get it in. And if he pulls it out that half second, that's the difference between you finishing and not. So it's big team effort going through. But yeah, Andy Gresh, if you're watching, we're gonna have to get you in here and have this little battle. That'll be a fun time. So Joe, before I let you go, I want to ask you a couple questions. Throughout your years of loving racing, and you see your son working in it. I mean, we just had my dad in here a couple weeks ago with the road show, and he told me he was just like, wow, it's crazy that I used to be down here at the street working down the radio, and he goes, now my son's here working. Like, how does that feel as a father coming in, seeing that your son is taking a love that you had and brought it into his career?
Well, he took the love I had to a whole nother level. I never drove. I never had the intention. He drove something. He wanted to be a part of it, but he learned he wasn't going to be that next Joey Logano, but he kept his name Joey. So if anyone ever asks, I'm Joe, he's Joey. Okay. And then he fought to get an internship. He proved himself there through COVID. They brought him in to do some work, and then before you know it, he got the job. And I tell him, it's not a job. When you go to work loving what you're doing, it's not a job.
I know.
And he loves it, and it's inbred in him. But a father can't ask for anything more. His mother and I are so appreciative of what NASCAR and the SMI people have done for him. And his career is set on a path now that I don't have to worry about.
Exactly. Hey, you get him out, of the nest, they start flying away, and it's good to go. Last question I have for you is when you were choosing between the wallpaper, the Gordon, and how did that go over with your wife with the color? Because I'm looking at the colors, I'm like, two brightest colors.
Oh yeah, you had the orange, the orange Tony Stewart, and I go, yeah, but he's kind of been a jerk a little bit, and everyone likes this kid Gordon. This kid Gordon's like tearing it up.
He took it like storms.
And it just looked better because I wanted the room to have some blue in it, not orange. But ironically, my son's favorite color since he was born is orange. Oh. Where that came from, I have no idea, but he loves his Jeff Gordon Flames blue. Oh. As you could see in some of the cars that we had to dress up for him. Yeah, he had flames on all his legend cars.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, I remember when I just watched the video the other day of when they first revealed that car, and first with the DuPont, but then when they revealed it was cool to see, like, just you get a chance to see those things on social media, like, from 15 years ago of footage we don't usually see because it was all on a camcorder. It wasn't on a phone where you could just upload it on the internet.
Right.
So things have changed a lot. Hey, Joe, thank you so much for
coming. No, thank you.
This
is a great show. Great to share it with everyone.
Oh, we're going to have fun, and we're going to get your son in here one day, too, and we're going to have a nice conversation. So, all right, Joe Lembo, everybody. We'll come back in less than 2 minutes and finish up here. We'll let you know what's going on this weekend, what to look out for, and don't forget, we have a big reunion up at Westboro Motor Speedway coming up this Sunday. So we'll talk more about that in less than 2 minutes. All right, we're back here at Trackside Northeast. I'm your host, Joe Cortese. Any comments, questions, or concerns, just shoot me an email at jcortese@wpri.com. Cortese is spelled Cortese. All right, let's talk about what's coming up this weekend. So I will be up at Westboro Speedway for this reunion. It is Sunday, October 5th. It's from 11 to 3 p.m. It'll be at Julio's Plaza, Route 9 in Westboro. You got to get up there. I mean, you're going to have the Bouchards, you're going to have Falcone, Mark Alden, who we had on the show. It's a big reunion, and they believe this potentially could be the last one that we could see for a while. So it would be a great idea if you were looking for something to do on Sunday. Head on up into Westboro, Massachusetts. You can get over to Julio's Plaza on Route 9. But the other thing I wanted to mention was I actually just got into their Facebook page over here, Westboro Speedway. It is the coolest thing. Mark Alden has more photos than you can imagine, just the throwbacks of what they have, just going through it. I'm looking at everything, but they're going to have auctions, and a lot of the auction proceeds are going to be going towards the Pro 9 Museum, and it's good to keep these museums going because, like me and Joe were just talking about, we're seeing that young generation around, and it's up to us as race fans to keep it going and keep those generations, into it and excited about it. But the museums are what really keep the history and they preserve it. And it's a great idea for, I don't know, when I was a kid, I always enjoyed going out to a museum and getting a chance to see the history of things. I was always a history buff, whether it was racing or just anything else in general, because it's interesting to see the evolution and where we've come. So, what's coming up this weekend? I mean, you got Seekonk Speedway. They just had their championships. They crowned their champions over the weekend. I'm going to talk to Kyle Souza and see if we can grab some of those champion drivers and get them in here, talk to them a little bit. Rick Martin, shout out to you. If you guys want to see one of the most heartwarming videos ever, you got to go check it out on their Facebook page. Rick just finished up, and he ended up giving the helmet over to Mrs. Andretti over there, and that was just unbelievable. It's one of those, you see that video, and you can just see it's a full circle moment. He had one heck of a career, and he's just an unbelievable rider. I mean, just 51 years. Can you just imagine that? You don't see marriages. You don't see anything last that long nowadays. It's crazy. So, in his show, you can always check it out on demand on our 12 Plus TV app. So if you're watching this today, you can go on the app, just go through. Every single show is on there. You can check them out. But also the CW. We are going up to Charlotte this weekend for the Xfinity Series. So that'll be up there. I believe it's a 4, maybe 3:30, but you can watch it on the CW at any time. And the NASCAR Cup Series, we're coming down to the final wire. My boy Ross, hopefully he can get those 13 points to get above Logano. But for some reason, it's always Ross and Logano at the end. But it'll make it interesting to see what's going on. So I'm Joe Cortese. I'm your host for Trackside Northeast. Hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to get in some of these champion drivers that were crowned over the weekend in Seekonk. But great season, 80th year, unbelievable time. Good place to get down there. But I'll be up there in Westboro this week. Try to keep it quiet, though, because I have a little surprise for my grandmother who's going to be there as well. But we'll be back next week with more on this show. And questions, comments, concerns, just shoot me an email. And we'll see you back here next week on Trackside Northeast. I'm your host, Joe Cortese. Be safe, be well. Most importantly, be kind. Everyone has their own personal battle behind a closed curtain. Have a great day.